Hey guys, so today I'm going to be showing you how to make smothered pork chops my way. Here you see me seasoning the pork chops with garlic powder. I am going in seasoning each individual one, making sure to season both sides. And next, I'm going to go in with the onion powder. I will try to show every seasoning that I'm using. Here is the onion powder. You want to use less onion powder than garlic powder because onion powder is very strong. And if you use too much, it can cause a bitter taste to your food. Here with onion powder, I am only seasoning one side instead of both. Next, I'm going in with the Lari seasoning salt. You don't want to use too much of this because it is very salty. So you see me just sprinkling lightly on each side of each pork chop. Next, I'm going to go in with the Creole seasoning. This is spicy and salty, so you want to season very lightly with this one too. Next, I'm going in with the complete seasoning. You can leave out this step, it's optional. I just love the way the flavor changes when you add this complete seasoning. It does have a lot of different ingredients in it, so it does wake up the flavor a lot when you add this. Again, very lightly, since I did go in with the other seasonings. And once I've completed with all the seasoning on the pork chops, I'm going to take my washed hands and I'm going to massage the seasonings throughout each one. This step just helps everything kind of stick together and make sure we didn't miss any spots. So after we're done doing this, I'm going to wash my hands. We don't need no cross-contamination. We don't need nobody getting sick. And now the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to add olive oil and butter to the pan. And the olive oil just helps keep the butter from burning because, as you know, I am using an iron skillet and they get very, very hot, so we don't want the butter to burn. So here you see me adding about a tablespoon of butter. Just go ahead and let that melt down. Now I'm going to add the pork chops in the pan, not overcrowding. As you see, I only could add 3 at a time. We're going to just saute those on each side for about 3 to 4 minutes until they're slightly brown. You don't want to overcook them. You don't want to cook them all the way because they're going to cook in the oven. So, like I said, just 3 to 4 minutes on each side. Next, I go in with onions, red and green bell peppers, and I'm going to saute those for a few minutes. I didn't record this step, but I added a tablespoon of flour. This is going to help thicken up the gravy. I did add those to the peppers and onions. So here you just see me kind of just moving everything around in the skillet so that the flour can cook out the flour taste a little bit, and also to brown the flour because we don't want no light skin gravy. If you do hear some noise in the background, that is my toddler. So now I'm just getting out the fridge the heavy whipping cream, and also I do have chicken broth. I'm not going to use the whole container of chicken broth, and I'm not going to use the whole container of heavy whipping cream. I used about a little bit more than half of the chicken broth. But you just want to eyeball it just to your consistency. You don't want it to be too thick or too thin. So as you see right here, I'm just eyeballing it right now. Not using any measurements or measuring cups because once this comes to a boil, you will be able to see how thick or thin it is. We like our gravy on the thicker side, so I'm not going to add too much. And if you do add too much liquid chicken broth or water, you want to thin it out. You want to make it thicker. Then you're going to add a flour slurry, which is basically 1 part flour to 2 parts of water. So if you do 1 tablespoon of flour, you're going to do 2 tablespoons of water. And just stir it up and pour it in the gravy. So here I'm just waiting for everything to come to a boil. And then you just want to keep stirring so there's no lumps or clumps of flour, and also to cook out that flour taste. Here you just see me looking at the box because I did get this chicken broth from Aldi. I usually get it from Walmart. I get the Swanson chicken broth, but this is the Aldi brand, which I've never used before. So I wanted to check the ingredients to see if it was something I would use again in the future. So here I am seasoning the gravy with Lori's, just a tad bit. You can always add more later, but you don't want to add too much. Here I am tasting the gravy to see if it needs more salt. And it did. So I went in with a little bit more seasoning salt and some Creole seasoning. And I am using a can of Campbell's cream of chicken soup. I didn't use the whole can, I don't think. Wait, we're going to go ahead and see. I believe I used half of the can of the cream of chicken. Well, there you see I used a little bit more than half, but we're going to see if I use the whole can. I believe I did end up using the whole can because it was just a little bit left. So I just said, what the heck, why not just use it? Here you got to stir because there is going to be clumps because that stuff is so thick. So you can use a whisk. I'm using a fork because that's just what I had at the moment. It'd probably be easier to use a whisk when doing this part. Getting everything stirred together and all the clumps taken out. Yep, I did use the whole thing. You can use half. That is a lot of sodium. If you're on a low sodium diet, I would just use half of it. You don't need to use the whole thing. It just gives more flavor. Just continue to stir or whisk until all the clumps are out and the gravy is smooth. So I did go in with like about 1/4 of a cup of heavy whipping cream. This just gives the gravy a more creamier texture. You don't want to use too much of it because it will make your gravy too creamy and too, it would change the color a lot. And I like my gravy a little bit browner. And if you want your gravy to be dark, you can go in with some browning. It's a liquid that you can find in the gravy section of the grocery store. It's called browning. Here you just see me pouring the gravy over the pork chops. And then I'm going to place a foil over this. And I'm going to bake it on 375 for an hour and a half. Pork chops don't take that long to cook, but you do want these to be falling off the bone tender. So that's why you're going to cook them for an hour to an hour and a half. Here I'm just covering the pork chops with some foil. And there you have it, a step-by-step tutorial on making smothered pork chops that your family will love, guarantee. So if you guys would just go ahead and give me a thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. This is my very first voiceover and video, so please comment if you do decide to try my recipe. Let me know how it goes. Thank you, and you guys have a blessed day.